welcome to our first coffee chat with Nat. So we are now live and just making sure everything is going a-okay. It looks like we're a little bit fuzzy, so if you're here, just let me know in the comments below. I'm just going to make sure that everything is working properly with our video there. Let me just check. Not how I had planned to start. Alrighty, it's going. Coolio. Okay, ladies, so welcome. This is, I called this little segment Coffee Chat with Nat. So what I want to do is I want to jump on every week, probably in the mornings, which is good for me, and have a little chat with you about something that I see coming up for artists and creatives right now. There's a really important topic that we need to address. So the whole thing that I want to do is I want to give you some support, some strategies that you can use to move forward in your creative path wherever you are. So today we're going to start with imposter syndrome. So this is a big, juicy topic that I see coming up a lot for creatives and especially for creative women. So we're going to kick it off with this. We're going to start off strong. What I want to do is we're going to look at what imposter syndrome is. We're going to look at how it can show up in your creativity. I'm going to then give you some practical strategies and tips that you can use to help move forward in your creative path and to help minimize the effects of imposter syndrome. So I would love to jump on here and say to you that at a certain part in your creative path, you're never going to feel like an imposter. But the reality is that unfortunately, simply just is not true. So before we get started, let's kind of pull out what imposter syndrome has. So that is kind of the term that is flying around at the moment is imposter syndrome, but it also can be recognized as things such as doubt. It can be fear. It can also be labeled self-sabotage. It could also be labeled procrastination. So imposter syndrome is basically you feel like you're moving forward, you're doing something, but you don't feel like you are legit in what you're doing, and you feel like suddenly at any moment someone is going to expose you or say something horrible to you, and they're going to find out that you're really not who you genuinely are. So as creatives, this can come up a lot, especially when we are first starting painting, because suddenly we'll start painting, we love our work, we start to share our work, we may even sell our work, and then the transaction of the money happens, and then suddenly we're so excited because we've sold a work, but then we're like, did I really just sell a work for that much? Did they just pay me for that? Are they going to come back and not like my work and want to take their money back? So dealing with this imposter syndrome is super, super duper important, because this is a huge stumbling block for creatives. So why is this important for us to deal with? The fact is, when we feel like we are an imposter, when we feel like we're a phony in our creative path, what it does is it stops us from moving in the next step. So then what happens is we don't feel like we're a good enough artist. We don't feel confident enough to share our work. We wait for a certain time when we feel like our work may be quote unquote good enough. And who knows when that would be. Because what happens if we're waiting for our work to be good enough, we get to a certain part in our work and then we continue to move the goalposts. So we need to deal with this, because this is always going to come up and it's going to prevent you from growing in your creative path. What also happens is we go the other way. We start to absorb all this information. So we try to make up for what we think is a lack of ability or being a quote unquote legit artist. So we go and we feel like we need to do all these courses. We feel like we need to go, some of us feel like we need to go do a BFA, a Masters of Fine Arts, whatever, to move us forward. So this is how imposter syndrome is going to show up in your work or in your creative path. The first thing I see it showing up in is your pricing. So this is where you might price your work really, really low because you don't believe in the value of your work, and you may even underprice yourself or undercut yourself. So what that basically means is you don't even charge enough for your work to pay the cost of your materials, let alone your time. So it shows up in your pricing. It shows up in you not even showing your work. And I have a lot of creatives that I mentor through my Confident Brush membership, and they're doing fantastic in building their confidence. They're now showing their work on Instagram. They're now putting their work out there and even saying that it's available to purchase, which is really, really awesome. But when you're feeling like an imposter, you're not even going to show your work. And the irony of this, or the sad thing of this, is that you're creative. You've been given a gift. You've been given something beautiful to share with the world. And if you don't, those other people are going to miss out on it. So this imposter syndrome really needs to be dealt with. The other way it can show up is your wording on your posts. So for instance, you might do a post on your work and say, you might put your work up, and it might say something, oh, this is a new work that I've just done in the studio this morning. I'm not really sure about it though. I'm not really happy with this. What do you think? And although that's a well-intentioned post and that maybe, you know, trying to get engagement with your audience, what it actually does is it sort of comes off as a lack of confidence in your own abilities. So it comes up in your wording. Imposter syndrome can come up in your conversations with others. So people might come to you, they might tell you that your work is beautiful, it's fantastic, and then you might completely dispute what they're saying and go, oh no, it's not. And I don't know if you've been in this situation before, but when someone gives you praise, or you're giving someone praise and they discredit that praise, it's a very interesting dynamic that sort of happens. So you kind of just, you feel like an imposter, you're not confident in your abilities, yet someone's coming along and wanting to compliment your work and you dismiss it. Or it might even be someone comes along and says they love your work, they want to buy it, and they ask you how much it is. And then you can totally freeze because, one, you don't believe your work's good enough, you haven't thought through a pricing strategy, and then you miss out on the sale. But in reality, in your heart of hearts, which I know for many of you that are here, you want to be selling your work, but your imposter syndrome, your lack of confidence in your abilities is not matching. The other thing is it could come up in a fear of failure. So you might even not share your work at all. You might be so afraid of entering that art show. You might be so afraid of taking an art course. You might even be in a community of creatives where you're not sharing your work because, again, you're afraid that people are going to say bad things about your work. The other way imposter syndrome can turn up, and this is kind of at the reverse. So say you start getting some success in your work. Say you go from selling your works from $1 to $1,600 for an item, which is where I'm at. And then you suddenly you freak out because suddenly someone may want to come and pay you $1,600 for an artwork that you've done that may have taken you 6-8 hours. And so then there's a whole lot of other stuff that sort of comes up for you, and you start to feel guilty about your success. So we need to work out how this imposter syndrome comes up. We need to come up with some mindset strategies, because if we don't learn how to live with imposter syndrome and to minimize it, it's going to be a stumbling block every time you move forward in your creative path. And what I want for you as a creative, as an artist, and whatever journey you are in your creative path, and if you're not sure where you are, you can get my creative guide that will help you. But what I want for you is to take slow, steady progress to move to that next step. Okay, and this is ironically where imposter syndrome is going to show up. So it's going to show up when you start to move forward and you take that next step. We're humans, we love security, we love being in our comfort zone, we love doing what we know is safe. But when we step out, our bodies, they have a protection sort of system that is designed to prevent you from harming yourself, all right? So fear comes up. Fear's not a bad thing when it's in the right situation. You want to feel fear when you're going to go very close to the edge of a high cliff. You don't want to feel fear when you're sharing your work on Instagram. You don't want to feel fear where you are, exhibiting your work in in an art show. These are not life-threatening situations. However, our mind struggles to differentiate between the two. So as you're progressing in your creative path, as you're taking that next step, imposter syndrome will flare up. So you need to know how to deal with it. The positive thing that I want you to think about in your mindset to shift is when you feel imposter syndrome flare up, take that as a good sign, because that means that you are moving forward. You can't grow unless you step out of your comfort zone. And I'm just going to have a drink of my coffee. So I did say it was coffee chat, and I'm actually thirsty from... I got this coffee cup, this floral coffee cup from somewhere in New Zealand. It's one of the items that came to Australia with me because I love it. Okay. So it's flaring up when we're moving forward, all right? The reason is we feel the fear. We fear we're going to be rejected. We're entering it into a zone where we're not too sure of what's going to happen because we haven't been there before, okay? But then there's also this interesting paradox that happens in life. Often when you're starting out as a creative, you're a lot more bolder. And the reason is because of knowledge. When you know less, it's this whole sort of concept of ignorance is bliss. When you know less, you have a lot more confidence because you don't know all of the things that are going to happen. If you knew your whole life, if you knew all the challenges you were going to go through in your creative path, some of you would probably put your hands up and say, no, thank you. I'm good. I'm going to stay here. I'm safe. So when we know more, we start to overanalyze, we start to overthink, and then we sort of come up with that stumbling block. But if you can imagine, and for those of you who have children, for those of you who, or everyone's around children, who see a child create. So watch a little kid create, all right? When they're rocking it, I love to teach young kids because they're so bold, they're so creative, they have no fear. They're like throwing the paint on, they're drawing their cool picture. It can turn out however they want. But when they show it to you, they are so incredibly proud of what they have done, and they boldly share it with you, like, this is the best picture in the world. Then we move forward into adulthood. We know more, okay? So we know what good art is, whatever that means. We know what bad art is. We may have experienced something in our life. You may have had a family member who told you that you're not very good as a creative. They may have said to you, and my family said, oh, that's a good hobby to have, yet it can really sort of stumble you. So sometimes when we know more, we sort of step back from stepping forward a little bit more. So here's the truth. You know more than you give yourself credit for. I'm a teacher, and I live by the philosophy that I never teach my students what I don't know, okay? Granted, I may only be 1 or 2 steps ahead, but I am 1 or 2 steps ahead, and I know more to go back and help. You know more in your creative path than you did a month ago if you've been practicing, than you did a year ago. Every day you are moving forward in your confidence, okay? However, there's always going to be more to learn. There's always going to be new art tactics coming out, new sort of art strategies. For those of you who are just starting, and I have some students in my Confident Brush who feel this right now, they feel overwhelmed because when you start out, it's like, I'm trying to find my style. I'm trying to get the confidence to share my work. How do I set up my Instagram? How do I set up my Facebook? How do I do prints? How do I price my work? How do I package my work? It's a huge learning curve. There's so much to go in, all right? Yet, they don't see all the beautiful, gentle progress that they've made in the steps before. So here's the thing. If you're waiting to suddenly have a certain amount of experience before you share your work with the world, you're going to be waiting a very, very long time, because this imposter syndrome, this fear, this doubt, this sort of timidity, it's not going to go away if you continue to grow in life. And I know you are going to continue to grow in life. The creative path, it's not an easy one. I would love to jump in here and say it's so easy to be a 6-figure artist. It's so easy to go from 0 to 100K in a year. But that's just not the reality, okay? But know that you have made gentle progress where you are right now. So we've identified what our imposter syndrome is. We've identified where it shows up. Now what I want you to do is to think of a trick, and I'm going to give you a little trick that's going to flick your mindset, that's going to help you learn how to deal with imposter syndrome so that you can continue to create, so that you can continue to go in your studio, that you can continue to explore new works, so that you can be happy even when your artworks are not going so well, so that you can be happy when you post your work on social media, even if someone gives a nasty review, so that you can be happy even when a client sends back a work because they don't like it. Hands up, I've had that happen to me lately. Okay, but here's what we can do. I want you to think about your creative path, your creativity, your gift, your paintings, your printmakings, whatever it is that you do, as serving someone else. It's not about you. The artwork that you create, it's not about you. The artwork that I'm creating here in my studio, it doesn't stay there. It goes to someone else's home. It brings joy to their home. I've had the honor of painting commission pieces for a dear friend of mine who was going through IVF, who had lost a child. It was her only daughter. She lost her baby and she asked me to do a special commission for her. So I had the honor of doing that for her while I myself personally is going through the process of dealing with infertility. So it's a whole huge thing. I've had the honor of creating work for a lady whose son died of a car crash, and he was a young boy. He loved my work. His mum brought regular works. He loved hydrangeas, and she commissioned me to do a special work. I now have the honor of helping you and hundreds of other creatives move forward in their creative path, whether it be teaching them practical art making skills, whether it be helping them learn how to share, whether it be helping them in my Confident Brush membership develop their skills, develop their mindset, learn how to run an art practice, learn how to package their work, learn how to ship. All of these things I now have the honor of doing. If I had stayed in fear, if I had stayed in doubt, if I had allowed imposter syndrome to stop me stepping out, from creating courses from you, from jumping on here now live and speaking to you so honestly, which at times can be incredibly scary, even though I've been teaching for 12 years, if I had chosen to let imposter syndrome win, then I wouldn't be helping you. I wouldn't be helping all these other people that I'm impacting with my work. So for you, I don't want you to see creativity as a selfish thing. People try to tell us that it is, but it is absolutely not. As a creative, your outpouring of your spirit, your outpouring of your emotions, your outpouring of all your life experience, creating these beautiful works that you're then giving to someone else or selling to someone else, that's going to enrich and bring joy into their lives. And this is a fantastic honor that we have. So it's not about you. If you choose to stop being creative, the people that are going to see your work, the people that are going to experience healing from your work, the people that are going to be influenced by your boldness and stepping out in your gifts, they're not going to receive that. So it's all about shifting your mindset to focus on your purpose and how it serves others. And so my art gig, my thing has always been, I wanted to figure out this art gig. I wanted to learn, how can I create an art practice that is financially sufficient, that supports me, that supports my family, and then how can I go back and help my fellow creatives like you come along the same path? Because for years, especially in teaching, I've seen many beautiful, talented art teachers, women creatives I've come into contact with, who have been more talented than me, yet they have lacked the confidence in themselves, they lacked the belief that they could create a sustainable income out of art. When I know that they wanted to be home raising their children, I know that they didn't want to be working all those hours, yet they didn't have the strategies. So I have always been, I'm going to figure this out. This is what drives me. This is what pushes me to learn how to sell more work. This is what pushes me to create courses that teach you how to paint and create. This is what pushes me in my membership group to get in there to help and support my fellow artists to take that next step in their creative path. So focus on your purpose. What is your creativity about? Why are you doing this? Who is it serving? And when we start to do that, that minimizes imposter syndrome. That says, okay, when we go to post that Instagram post about our work and we're freaking out because we feel one person may not like it, yet 99 people probably will, this is what causes us to move forward, because we know that work is impacting on other people. All right, and as you do that, you're going to find people that like your style. You're going to find people that like your work. You're going to find people that connect with you and form your tribe. Here's the thing. Not everybody is going to like you. All right? I'm a sensitive soul. I wish everyone would like me. I wish everyone would like my courses, the challenges that I run, but there's always someone that gets in there. 99 people create beautiful comments and there's one person that says it's not connected or it doesn't work well, and I'm like, ouch. All right. But you know what? I impacted 99 people. 99 people enjoyed that challenge. Actually, there was more than 99 people that went through my challenge. 99 people liked it. One person didn't like it. That's cool. It's going to be the same with you. You're not for everyone. I'd rather you be black or white. There's no money in the middle. All right? So, here we go. Here are 7 strategies. We're getting there. I know there was a little bit of a starter, but 7 strategies that can help you to minimize imposter syndrome, because I'm not going to say that it's going to go away, because it's actually a good thing. It shows you that you're moving forward and stepping out of your comfort zone. So the first thing that you want to do is choose to commit to a purpose higher than yourself. So your arts, it's not about you. It's fun. We love it. This is what we're born to do. It's awesome. We pour it out. But ultimately, that artwork is going to hang in someone else's homes. Granted, we probably have a lot, like I do, of art in our own homes until it goes out, but it will eventually go out. Case in point, this artwork here, which many of you saw on my Facebook page earlier, Memories of Peonies. I painted this in 2020 at the start of last year. This has been hanging out with me in my home, and yesterday morning it randomly sold on my website and is now heading back to Auckland in New Zealand. So the works will leave your home eventually. Number 2 is to build your confidence by taking the next right step for you. All right, so confidence comes from the doing. So whatever the next right step might be for you, it might be, you know what, I've been thinking about sharing my work on Instagram. I've been holding off. I'm going to do it. It could be something simple like, I haven't even gone through those lessons that Nat gave me, or I wanted to start learning painting a certain style. You know what? I'm going to do it, or I'm going to sign up for that course. Or it could simply be, and this is a big one, if someone says, I love your work, you go, thank you. I do too. Very simple. You don't dispute them. You don't dismiss what they've just said. You receive that praise, because the more you hear people telling you how good your work is, the more you receive it, the more confidence you will get. Number 3 is to put commitment or confidence in your commitment. So what I mean by that is when you're learning out, you don't know everything. So if you're starting, say for instance, you're entering an art show. All right, so I've done 25 plus art shows in my career. All right. The first few art shows that I knew that I started, I was nervous, but what I was good at and what I could commit to was my commitment. That gave me confidence. I knew I was a planner. I knew I could get the work done. I knew I could read all of the information on how I needed to submit my work. I knew I could get my work there on time. That gave me the confidence. So I knew I could put that confidence in my commitment to doing the task really, really well. Number 4 is to stop comparing yourself to others. Now, this is really hard to do, especially in this day and age where I feel like this thing is attached to my hand, all right? We have our social media that is around us all the time. And if you are just learning, you're trying to find your style, we want to absorb a lot, all right? Because we want to learn and get inspired by lots of other people, but sometimes it can be a stumbling block. So if you're feeling that you're comparing yourself to others too much, if you're feeling triggered by other people, if you feel like you need to follow people because they follow you, then just pause. Just pause from the socials. Unfollow people who trigger you. Don't worry, people unfollow me all the time. It's just who it is. I unfollow people all the time as well. We follow people in certain seasons. You're just those people that are even in my membership now. I don't expect them to be with me my whole life. I don't want them to be with me my whole life. I don't want them to be following me forever, because you know what? They need to get to a season in their creative path where they're comfortable to go and fly. And that's what a true leader is. I'm raising creatives. I'm raising creative leaders who can step into their authority and can run their creative paths and go and then help other creatives. So if you're feeling like you're comparing yourself way too much on the old IG, then just take a pause from that. The step 5 is to share your feelings with others, because here's the thing, imposter syndrome is really irrational at times. It can tell us, don't share your work on Instagram because you're going to die. Well, that's a little bit extreme, but it might say something like, don't share your work because you're going to get all these people that are comment, they're going to laugh at you, they're going to tell you that your work is really sucky. So what you can do is, if you're feeling that, if you're feeling these horrible thoughts that just pop up in our head, share that work with someone. Find a good arty friend that you can communicate with, because again, they understand the creatives. Non-creatives don't really get us. We are a little bit sensitive. They don't get what we're sort of walking through. So find a supportive group, whether it's a free Groupon, whether it's inside my membership. Find someone there, find a peer that you can connect with and share those feelings, because often when you share that thought, where you share that fear out, yourself will hear it and you'll understand that it's a completely irrational thought. The other thing that you can do is, you're feeling like you're an imposter, is to assess your abilities. Okay, so what I mean by this is, if you feel that, say for instance, I've had to do this a lot, especially last year. I started teaching online. I started running a coaching program. I started creating courses. Things that came up for me were, who are you to think that you could create a coaching program for artists? Who are you to think you could teach online? Who are you to think that you could run a course? And so what I had to go was okay, let's look at my abilities. This is who I am. I have been painting since I was 3. I studied art right through college. I've been to art school. I have a teaching degree. I have been teaching for 12 years. I have been actively selling my work for over 12 years. I think I can help some people. So, but yet, like, your mind just does stupid things. So go back and look at your skills. Look at your abilities. How long have you been painting for? How much has your work improved from what it was to how it is now? And that's going to give you some confidence. And the other thing that you can do, step 7, to sort of remove this imposter syndrome, is just to move forward anyway. You know, that whole feel the fear and do it anyway. Because the only way that you're going to grow in your creative career is to move forward. And I'm currently reading a fantastic book by Elizabeth, I don't know her last name. She's the author of, if anyone knows, you can post in the comment, the author of Eat, Pray, Love, and she's got a book called Big Magic. And at the start of it, it talks about fear, and it talks about fear's never going to leave us. Fear's something that we need to learn to live with. It can come with us on the journey. She gives this great analogy of how it can hop in the car, it can get in the back seat, but it's not allowed to touch the radio. It's definitely not allowed to drive. It's not allowed to change the roadmap, but it's going to be there. And so she relates it to your creative path. So you're going to be moving forward. You're going on that journey, but that baggage of fear, it can come with you. You can see it, you can acknowledge it, but you can choose to move forward anyway. So that is us, ladies. I hope that's given you a little bit of encouragement. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit, I have my notes here. It was a little bit all over the place. Once you step out there, it's amazing how supportive people actually are. Kieran, yeah, it is so true. I think that we feel that people are really nasty, but 99% of people aren't, especially women, especially creatives. I love having a beautiful community. Awesome. Pam, I don't have a website. Is it good to sell on your Facebook business page and maybe set up an Etsy account to sell canvas art? You can. I would do all of that. The more avenues that you have your art on, the more platforms, the more likelihood that you're going to sell it. So I always, I have a personal website. I did once have an Etsy account, but I never really followed through on that. And I also have Blue Thumb. So I sell on Blue Thumb. I sell on my website. I sell on Facebook and Instagram. It was really easy about 5 years ago, 2016, 2017. Most of my work I was selling through Facebook, but the audience reach and everything's gone down a lot now. The other thing I do sell a lot through is email marketing. So I have a list of people who love my work. They've signed up for my mailing list, and I have all my collectors on there, and I release work to them. So yeah, it doesn't matter if you don't have a website. Definitely start selling on your Facebook business page, absolutely, and definitely set up an Etsy. And when you feel ready, set up your own personal website. It is a bit of an investment, just expensive here, and hopefully soon. Yeah, I use Squarespace, and I think I bought the year package because it was cheaper. So I think it was like 400 Australian dollars for the year. Thank you, my battle's not giving up. Beautiful day, Mel. It is a beautiful day, and Mel, awesome. Yeah, and just keep going. Know that you will. Life happens, Kieran. We're creators, we're sensitive souls, and I've learned to really lean into that. I've learned to feel the emotions, get it out, and then just keep going, because knowing that my work is helping others like you, and knowing that there are other people that support me, it's really awesome. So enjoy your day in Wellington and Melbourne. I'm from Wellington. All right. Thank you, Michelle. Awesome. Okay, ladies, that is me. Have a fantastic evening. Move forward in your creative path, whatever step that is. And remember, it's about sharing your work that's going to actually help bring joy and beauty and inspiration into other people's lives. So I'll be back next week for another coffee chat. If you have any ideas of anything you want to talk about, you can either comment below or message me, and I will see you next week. See you later.